my name is Brian, and this is the Fireside Chat. I am joined today by Coach Castle. He is a sort of like well, you're an expert, or you discuss bodybuilding, fitness, health, biometrics type stuff, and you also debunk feminism on the side, I guess. Is that like a side thing, or
lots of stuff on the side? But yeah,
yeah.
I mean,
So I guess like my first question is, why we got a lot of requests from people, a few people that asked us to get you on, and then you emailed us, I think. So what was your
thing. I had people tell me to reach out to you guys. Same thing.
Yeah. What do you think the reason for that is? So, like I'll just real quick for people who maybe some of your people are watching this channel and they're wondering where the correlation is or whatever. Honeybadger Radio, or this channel is called Honeybadger Live Streams. We discuss men's issues and boys' issues. Typically, this has to do with the way that men and boys are treated by the legal system, by the political system, by education, and just in our culture in general. But occasionally I do get on people who talk about things like psychology of men and fitness and health oriented stuff. So I think there might be where the connection is, but I mean, what is your theory on that?
Well, there's actually a lot of overlap. I mean, I'm one of those rare people, I suppose. I don't think I'm that rare, but I guess I'm one of those rare people that you cannot put into a box. And that's just because I never had a box. So interesting, kind of goes back to me and the problems with men, but I raised myself. I mean, I never had any support, no help from anybody. I was basically hated and ridiculed my entire life, and kind of still am to some degree because of all the debunking that I do. But I'm okay with it. It doesn't bother me any. It's just facts hurt your feelings. That's not my business. I'm in the business of facts. And a lot of what I do is I talk about, in the realm of fitness, for example. I don't want to get too much into that, but it's biomechanics. I specialize in bodybuilding, athletic, running, and respiratory biomechanics, which is just a study of how forces affect living material. And long story short, in that subject, I teach people how to efficiently build muscle, lose fat, the whole shebang. But when I say efficiently, I just mean the best possible way. Every muscle on your body has one perfect exercise or one perfect movement to be done inside of these correct parameters. You don't need a gym or personal trainer or any of that. We'll get into it later, but this is where I come into decrediting and debunking the fitness industry, because 90% of, well, I don't want to say that, a large percentage of what the fitness community says, does, and believes is completely wrong, nonsensical mythology, has no evidence, it's ineffective, it's damaging. I don't like that. I'm a busy person. I'm a bodybuilder. I work out 15 minutes a day, and I don't use a gym. I just use my knowledge of lever mechanics and anatomy and stuff. But other things I talk about, of course, are psychology. Basic things like agreeableness and disagreeableness, how different traits between men and women differ. Now, this is because I have clients, bodybuilders, women, men. I have clients of, all ages who are men and women. And 9 times out of 10, people hate hearing this, but they have to be coached, spoken to, trained, and everything else completely differently. You can't treat them the same because they don't react the same to the same things. And it goes back to psychology. So if you want to be a good coach, you have to understand what makes people tick, essentially. And I'm a very disagreeable person by nature. I think that's fairly obvious to most people who know me, but basically you can't make me do something or say something I don't want to. That's all it means. And it would be very difficult to do that, actually, I think.
Yeah. So when you say you treat them differently, you're talking about like men in general and women in general differently, or and on top of that, I assume there are also differences from individual to individual.
So let's just go into a couple little obviously it's extremely complex. I'm not going to act like it's not complicated, but you can simplify it down to a couple key things. So within just people in general, there's going to be different stimulus which stimulate people differently. So if somebody wants to lose a whole bunch of weight because they are an athletic extrovert who likes to compete and win trophies, that's a very different motivational set than somebody who was just pregnant and is unhappy with how they look and they want to get their body back to normal. I mean, it's two very different things. men in general, and again, whenever I say in general, I'm kind of referring to like a bell curve of
Yeah,
around
sure.
average, but
Hmm.
I mean, just to be kind of clearish with my words at least,
Yeah.
men in general, they're conscientious. Now, what conscientious means essentially is they are more than willing to work. They're totally good with working, don't mind working long hours, provided that they feel they're getting something for it. They'll work. They're industrious. They don't need to be told to do the work. They will do the work. They don't need to be babysat to do the work, if that makes sense. So they don't need me, say, telling them, here are your 3 goals for the day. Make sure these are completed by 10 p.m. Make sure you do your 30 minutes of walking, your 15 minutes. They don't need that. I say, okay, guys, here's your plan. Make sure you get this done. Here's the intensity. Check in with me tomorrow. It's a completely different thing than having to babysit somebody through their goals and stuff. So that's one kind of easy distinction to make. Women being more, going back to the agreeableness, um, they're more agreeable, but in the reason I say agreeable and what I mean by agreeable, I'm sure some of your listeners probably already know these things already, but I mean, the agreeableness and disagreeableness, they're opposite ends of a spectrum essentially.
Hmm.
Most people fall somewhere in between, and the disagreeableness, I'm actually probably the furthest outlying thing that there is. But agreeable people are typically, and again, generally on average,
Hmm.
women. And this is because of their maternal instincts through evolution. Again, something else I talk heavily about: evolution, biology, anatomy, how we've evolved. You can't learn these things and not also learn why we have certain behaviors. Child rearing, essentially, once the child is born, the mother's only real job is to take care of the child and make sure it survives. She doesn't have to still be attractive to find a mate. She doesn't still have to be super healthy. Doesn't matter if she's fat, doesn't matter if she's lazy, any of these things. All that matters is she's had the kid, now she has to take care of the kid. How demanding is an infant? Is a small child? They spend all their sleep, all their time taking care of these things. Men are not hardwired that way. Men are hardwired, I mean, to make the baby, and then they don't even necessarily need to be around for the baby. Humans are not necessarily monogamous creatures. In fact, it's kind of everywhere what humans are, but that's to be expected from a species which is known for adaptation. We need to fill a bunch of niches in case one niche gets burnt out. Is all this making sense? I just want to make sure this is
Yeah.
making
No,
sense.
no, I follow you.
Okay, make it fun. So how this applies to women who are more agreeable is, well, again, most women who are more agreeable. It's an unusual woman I meet who is not agreeable, but they'll tell you that they're not. But the difference is that they are agreeable. They're forcing themselves not to be that thing, which, by the way, I do encourage in women. I do want to point that out. I think women
You
should
encourage
struggle a
what?
little bit against that.
Oh yeah, for
The
sure. Women
to be
tend
more
to.
disagreeable.
Yeah, women tend to go along to get along, because
Yes.
they've evolved a kind of in the social space, so they are historically operating with other women who also have babies, and so it in as a byproduct of trying to form community in your tribe, you also have to be a somewhat agreeable woman, because you want the other women to support you when when you are pregnant, and they want to help protect you or whatever. So yeah, I mean, women are more agreeable. My wife is very agreeable. But she struggles with it. She wants to be more disagreeable. So it is something that you can train. Yeah.
Well, the big argument I always make for them is, listen, it's very simple. When you're more disagreeable, you get more. And this is
Mm-hmm.
what they're all, this literally what the complaint of in men too, this is the complaint of the common agreeable person. Why do I do so much for other people and no one does anything for me?
Yeah.
This is literally the common thing across all agreeable people. It's kind of what it is. Well,
Yeah.
just stop it. Be more selfish. I tell them, be more selfish. Take care of yourself first. People will respect you more because you're being selfish. They'll give you more respect. They'll take you more seriously. You can negotiate for a higher pay. You can get rid of Becky, the useless worker who's not doing whatever. I mean, I'm just throwing names, but you can
Mm-hmm.
get rid of the useless worker because you don't need to play nice with her. Go tell the manager she's not doing her job. Here are the examples A, B, and C, and fire Becky.
Yeah.
The agreeable woman wouldn't do that. She's going to say, oh, well, Becky's got 3 kids and her husband left her and she's got bills to pay. We shouldn't fire her. Well, no, that's Becky's fault. That's Becky's problem. Why didn't she keep her husband? Why didn't, I
Mm-hmm.
could keep going through it. But you get the idea of what I'm making here. But how this
Totally.
translates to me coaching women is, again, treated very differently. I'll put it to you this way. I'm not trying to sell services here, but just to put it in perspective, I offer primarily 4 plans. Basically, a $500 full plan. You get basically a crash course with me, all videos, all everything kind of explained for you in about a 3-month format, 1-month format, depending. Or you work with me directly for a long period of time, or you work with me online and you get consistent daily, weekly updates kind of a thing. That's more of an educational course. And then, of course, in person if you're doing bodybuilding, whatever that may be. But women will always pick the one where they're in constant contact with me. They've never picked one where it was just like, here, let me make the plan for you and educate you.
Mm-hmm.
They will. I don't think I've ever had a woman buy one of those plans. Men always buy those because they understand if I just get taught all the perfect movements, I get shown them, I get the plan, I get the understanding, and I get the printout, I can read it and then I can just do it and cross it off the list.
Mm-hmm.
They're not worried about that. I can just hand it to them. It's fine. Women, they need a friend, a confidant, constant explanations. They need constant reevaluations. They need constant contact with you to just everything. And I don't mind that. It's different people. But the point I'm making is I don't think I've ever had a woman just pick a plan that she could just follow. They want, even if it cost a lot more, they want constant hand-holding the entire process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Does all that make sense?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Of course, yeah. So it's interesting coming at this from this perspective. I think that men's physical health is as important as their mental health, obviously. I think that you're right. I think that the sort of mainstream, fitness, health, nutrition, I think it's all wrong. I don't pretend to know exactly what it should be, but I know that it's not correct. I mean, the food pyramid is absolute BS.
Can we get into it?
We can get into it. Yeah. Okay. Let's try to do this in. I'm gonna organize things like Adam. Okay. So
yeah, do it. Go your thing.
First,
I love talking about.
Let's talk about food, because I think that men are struggling these days. I don't know if you noticed, but men are struggling, and women are also going to be struggling very soon.
They're very soon going to be.
Yeah, very soon, very, very much going to be struggling. So, one of the things that we try to do on our channel is we try to motivate women to get involved, because in general, women just wait for men to just step up, but they also demand all of the, say the benefits, that feminism gives them, like the jobs and the money, etc. But once they get all those things, then they're like, well, I can't find a man that's good enough because my standards are now really, really high, right? So, so we need to help men. I'm not saying they have to necessarily take charge, but I think that if men self-actualize, if they find their calling, their higher purpose, and then they pursue it, then they're going to be much happier, they're going to be much healthier, and then the women will follow, is what I'm hoping for. And I think it's true. So I guess that begins with just putting men in the right space physically as well as mentally. Now, we have plenty of people that talk about psychology, and they specifically do it without the sort of mainstream feminist lens that is used in all of our psychology practices, this is why men don't go to therapy, because therapy is not made for them. It doesn't work on them. It's made for women. Do you agree?
More, actually.
Yeah, exactly. So we need to look at the thing. So let's talk about nutrition first. So what is it that's wrong with what we're told we're supposed to eat now versus what we do eat now versus what you think we should be eating?
I'm gonna answer you, but without answering those questions specifically, if that makes sense. It's gonna be easier to. Okay, so I will give you in summary what I feel you should be doing food-wise. Now this is gonna vary. I mean, I don't want to get too much into it, but even when I say vary, it's not going to vary that much.
Mm-hmm.
So just real quick, a couple misunderstood things. People really don't have different speed metabolisms. We basically all have about the same metabolism. And if there's something wrong with your metabolism, 9 times out of 10, it's your diet, which is screwing it up, which can be fixed pretty quickly. I'm going to get too much into that. But I mean, there's so many things that people are just completely wrong about when it comes to food. So the easiest things I could tell you is, and you've all heard this before, but I'm going to dig a little deeper into it.
Okay.
Don't eat processed foods.
Hell
Now,
no.
I'm not saying don't eat them like God, don't eat them. I just had ice cream and shake and stuff. I'm not saying that. I'm saying eat them less often than you can. What is a processed food, guys? This is really simple. It's any food that has literally been processed. If it's been put in a machine, if it has been altered in some way, if it has been chemically or physically macerated, this is a processed food. Are they bad? No, they're not. They're not bad, but you don't want to eat a lot of them. I'm not going to get too much into it. Second thing, carbs. Do you need carbs? 100% you need carbs. Are some carbs better than other carbs? Yeah, of course. What kinds of carbs? Non-processed carbs. Again, that's not rocket science, guys. Next thing, protein. How much protein do you need? You can't eat too much. Let me say that again. You can't eat too much. Now, the only caveat to that would be is you have some form of pre-existing condition. I mean, I could think of the two off the top of my head, but they're rare. Most people, protein, you cannot eat too much. How about fats? Well, there's healthy fats and then there's unhealthy fats. We want to eat the healthy fats. Okay, so now the last thing I'll say, and then I'll dig into breaking those down. And then, long story short, all of those things need to be eaten in the adequate amounts. So heavily focus on protein, make sure you eat a bunch of fat, and eat carbs every day, not too many. I mean, I know that's kind of very
No, it's
banal,
okay.
general, very
Yeah.
general, but let's dig into what I mean now when I say that. All right, so protein. How much protein should you be eating? Well, if, again, I want to stress this. You can't eat too much protein. Protein makes you feel full. Protein builds your body. Protein does nothing negative to you. Proteins are not created equal. Meat proteins and vegetable proteins have very different bioavailability. This is a big thing I don't like about the vegans and vegetarian movement. They act like it's the same, and it's not. Say you got a steak, 8-ounce steak. It's got, let's say, 40 grams of protein, amino acids, all that stuff. You got a cup of cooked lentils. The vegan's going to tell you this is 40 grams of protein, etc. Here's the thing. When you eat that, your body processes it completely differently. Your body will digest and absorb all of the protein and amino acids from the steak. From the lentils, it's going to cause intestinal distress. It's going to corrupt your microbiome. It's not good for it if you eat a bunch of. Your microbiome is like your second brain in your upper intestine.
It's your gut, right? It's the gut. That's what
It's your gut brain, yeah.
Yeah, it's your gut brain.
But it has a huge impact on everything. Your mood, your sleep cycles, your hormone production, everything in it. It all takes place in the microbiome as well. But the lentils themselves, you'll only maybe digest 8 grams of protein. So there's a massive difference there. And just to be clear about that, always stick with the meat-based protein stuff. That's anything that's a meat, a fish, a whey, a dairy. These are meat. So you want to eat essentially 1.5 grams per lean body weight. So in my case, at the moment, I'm about 185. I'm currently eating about 250 to 300 grams of protein per day. That's what I consume. That is a little bit more, I will say, than most people, but that's just because I'm bigger.
Are you bulking
I don't cut in bulk. That's a very silly thing to do. We can do that if you want to, but you never want to cut in bulk. That's a bad idea. It's yo-yo dieting for bodybuilders, and it destroys your body health, and it actually prevents you from gaining. Again, I have reasons for all these things, but back to the protein. So for the protein anyways, 1.5 is plenty if you're muscular, if you're lean, etc. But if I was 250 pounds, but I had no additional muscle on me, I just had 60 extra pounds of fat on me right now, I would still be eating 250 to 300 grams of protein because that's my lean muscle mass that I actually have. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, for the average individual, 1.2 to 1.5 is more than enough. If you work out, 1.5 to 2 if you're taking steroids. I'm sure some of your listeners do. If you're taking steroids, you're obviously going to want to eat more protein because the steroids allows you to synthesize it faster. So increase your protein for that. But that's protein in a nutshell. The only way you're going to be able to get all of this protein is if you eat it every single meal and you make it the focus of that meal. The good thing about doing this, again, is if you make it the focus of the meal, the carbs and the fats are going to be off to the side after you've eaten the protein anyways. It's already going to fill you up. It's going to keep you full for a long time, and you know for a fact that you're getting your protein. Your body cannot build muscle unless it has the things it needs to build the muscle. And this
Mm-hmm.
is protein and amino acids. So if you want to build a house, you need some wood and stuff, right? Well, that's the protein. So if you're working out and you're not eating enough protein, you're doing nothing. You're spinning your
Mm-hmm.
wheels. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, it does. It makes sense. Yeah, my wife's kind of into this stuff, so like,
Okay.
these things are not foreign to me, like these concepts. So, um,
Let's go carb style.
yeah, yeah, I was gonna mention. Let's talk about carbs. Okay, go ahead.
All right, let's go carbs.
This is like a hot thing that people are cutting completely right now. So,
Well, you should never cut carbs completely. And I completely disagree with the notion.
yeah.
Can you? Can you? Sure, you can. Can you go keto, have no carbs? Yeah, you can. Is your body going to run just fine? Sure. You can even work out with pretty good intensity because after you work out, all of the byproducts, all the lactic acid, it just gets shuttled to your liver and transferred right back to the muscles through glucosis anyways. It takes a little bit longer, but you don't necessarily need carbs because your body has that process already lined up for you, but it is slower. It is slower. But that's the problem is when you do keto or you cut carbs completely, you'll fix stuff. I mean, I'll even go so far as to say you can cure some diseases just by going keto temporarily. But that's kind of my point. Keto is a tool. It's not a lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
I have no problem with keto, doing keto before a competition, using keto to get a fat process started, using keto to cure a particular disease or something. But then reintroduce the carbohydrates for a multitude of reasons. Number one, they are your brain's fuel of choice.
Yes.
They're what your brain wants. Now, I mean, arrogantly, I use my brain all the day. I try really hard to be smart. I try really hard to do smart things, and I'm always thinking. I eat a lot of freaking carbs because of that, and also because of the massive energy I expend throughout the day. Literally just talking, moving, walking, and everything else I do burns a lot of energy. I need the carbs. That being said, as I get older, I'll probably cut the carbs back a little bit. But right now, I'm eating, give or take, 200 to 400 grams a day.
Mm-hmm.
That might be a lot for most people, but for me, it's good.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what do I mean when I say carbs? I mean healthy carbs. Vegetables, fruits, nuts, these are all healthy things. When
So
I say
sugars, you mean like fructose and stuff?
so I'm going to get to that right now.
Okay,
That's
okay.
that's one of it. It's the topic. So something to understand about carbohydrates, and this is why it's important that they are unprocessed versus processed. I'm just going to get into a little bit of the chemical transaction that happens. So let's just take a banana. Say I give you a banana and I say, eat this banana, you chew the banana, you eat the banana, make sure you peel it, you weirdo. And then once you've got the thing down, your body's going to digest that slowly over half an hour to an hour. You'll get, 20 grams of carbs slowly released into you. No worries. Your insulin level is going to stay just like that. And it's going to take you, like I said, 30 minutes to an hour to digest.
Mm-hmm.
You take the same banana, you put it in one of those little blenders with a little bit of water, and you just blend it up, and then you drink it like a little smoothie. Your body does not know the difference between that and just eating 2 spoonfuls of white cane sugar. It's exactly the same thing. It's going to dramatically spike your insulin. And the reason for this is because you have chemically macerated it. You've denatured the chemical structure. It gets absorbed immediately into your body now. The second it goes into your stomach, and that's the problem, is it spikes your insulin like crazy, and that's the problem. Now, here's another way to think about it as well. Say you get on the treadmill, you're trying to lose fat. So you get on the treadmill, and by the way, I'm not going to get into this right now, but if you're trying to lose fat, guys, the only thing you want to be doing is slow, steady state walking. You don't want to be jogging or running or anything else. That does not directly oxidize fat. That just burns calories. There's a big difference. If you're looking for fat burning, you want slow, steady state cardio. That will directly oxidize fat. Nothing else will. Not jogging, not running, not working out. None of those things actually oxidize fat. They just burn glucose in the muscles. There's a big difference. But anyway, so say you do your walking on a treadmill for half an hour. A treadmill says you burned, 200 calories. Probably not accurate, by the way, but let's hypothetically say, okay, you get off the treadmill. You don't do anything special because you don't need to do anything special. Go on with your day. At some point when you're hungry, have your next meal. Let's say your next meal is, as I've said, protein first. You have a protein shake. You have I don't know, guys, whatever you want to eat. You have protein first, a little carbs, a little fat. You eat that normal meal. Everything's good. You carry on with your day. Let's say instead of doing that, you say, I just did really good. I was on the treadmill for 30 minutes and I burned 200 calories. I'm going to go have a Reese's cup at the gas station. So you go and you have a Reese's cup at the gas station. That Reese's cup was 200 calories. You just negated everything you did on the treadmill, number one. Number two, that Reese's cup just spiked the shit out of your insulin. Now you're going to be hungry again in 10 minutes. You get where this is going. This is a very vicious cycle that people find themselves in.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyways, that's how the body kind of treats carbs. This is why you want to eat unprocessed carbs. I mean, there's lots of reasons, but that's kind of one of them, the chemical nature of things. Now, in regards to carbs as well, you do have to have them just for the minerals and the vitamins. This is what people don't think about when they think about health. I'll talk about these things till I'm blue in the face, correcting your breathing patterns, eating supplements, minerals, and vitamins, and they're just like, how do I make my biceps bigger?
Yeah.
No. So the reason that you got to eat this stuff is because you need to strengthen your bones. You need to strengthen your fascia and your tendons and your ligaments. You need to have things in your body repairing and making your body better and more dense. So as you get older, you don't waste away. Now, I know most of you people don't think long-term like this, so that's long-term thinking, but just think short-term. In the short term, if you have a healthier body, you literally have a healthier mind. You have more willpower. You make better decisions. You can focus in better ways. I could keep going. You guys get the idea.
Yeah. Absolutely.
There is no downside to having a healthier body. I keep myself in tip-top shape year-round, not because I'm a narcissist, but because I need to perform at maximum efficiency year-round. And when I say that, it means lots of days. What that means for me to be performing maximally efficient is I might sleep 12 hours. I might prioritize sleep that day. I might prioritize nutrition that day. It depends on the day, but I prioritize keeping myself at a very high level so I can efficiently perform at a high level. And I know immediately as soon as something dips even a little bit. If I have pizza, I know 4 or 5 hours after I have that pizza, my stomach's going to be a little upset. I mean, that's cause and effect. I know it's going to happen, but sometimes I really want some pizza, And I know the next morning I'm going to have a little bit more trouble getting out of bed. I'll be a little bit lethargic just because.
But then and then you can just make it up. You're like, okay, I did that, so I'm going to do this other stuff to sort of compensate, right? Get back to the center. No.
Again, that's a biggie. Not to be rude about it, but
no, it's okay.
Never compensate. No. When I have pizza, I just go have pizza. If I want to go have cake, I just go have cake. And I have no trouble doing that whatsoever. Not because I'm a genetic freak or anything else, but it's because 95% of everything I do is simple, effective, and good. I'll walk you through today, because today was an unusual day for me. So I woke up, I had a protein shake, I took my pills, and then I had a cream of wheat with brown sugar. I did my walk, I had clients. My next meal was shaved steak, cheese, and a taco shell. My next meal was cheese grits, bacon, and pork belly. Then I say these things, people are going to think that's not healthy. Everything I just listed is extremely healthy. Pork belly is meat
with processed
massive amounts of fat on it, which I deep fry in bacon.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Grits are healthy carbs. Cheese is healthy dairy. I add butter to it as well. This is very fatty, proteiny, carby, and every one of those things is a very healthy item. That meal in itself was probably 800 calories, but that's 800 perfectly clean calories for me to be eating. There's nothing wrong with that meal. Now, if I took that meal and I replaced it with an 800 calorie, I don't even know, what do normal people eat
old people?
Normal people, just like
like pasta? You mean it's usually carbs, like rice, a sandwich, like bread? Yeah.
Replace it with one of those things. Well, here's the problem. Not nearly enough protein. I'm going to be hungry really quick again because there's not enough protein there. I don't have enough in that meal. I'm going to have to make up that protein somewhere else during the day. All those carbs that I just ate without the protein are now going to digest faster because the protein's not in there with them. That's going to spike my insulin even faster. So again, I mean, the foods that I select and you should be selecting are just healthy foods that you put together and make them delicious. But just be aware of the actual calorie content of these items. I have a little bit more leeway with calories than most people, I know that, but that's also because I've literally been doing this my whole life. It's it's a little bit different. But anyway, so the minerals and supplements, you got to get them from your veggies. The minerals and vitamins, but you got to get them from your veggies, but you also have to get them through supplementation. It's impossible. I don't care if you're Elon Musk. And by the way, I was a chef for many years as well. It's impossible to have a diet with all of the minerals and vitamins you need. I don't care if you spend $1,000 a day on your diet plan. It will not happen. And the reason for this is the way that we've been actually farming in America and getting our goods. It's called, you probably know this, but it's called four square plot farming.
Mm-hmm.
They'll rotate where they plant the harvest and to supposedly keep the earth, a little bit better, but it just completely depletes it over time, and nobody's putting those nutrients back in there. So 30 years ago, you could eat 3 or 4 carrots and get all of your vitamin K for the day. Nowadays, you need to eat the equivalent of 30 pounds. That's literally how bad it's gotten. And this is why on a daily basis, I take 3 shot glasses full of supplements, is because I need them all and I prioritize my health. These are things, they're things I know a lot of people might just basic, but it's zinc, magnesium, calcium. I could go through the list, but it's all really basic things, but you need these basic things. B12, D3, fish oil, these are all basic things. And with them, your body and your mind perform at a much higher level,
Yeah.
which is again, a good thing for everybody. So questions about carbs before I go to fats?
Let me see. Yeah, like so you said not processed carbs. It sounds like it comes from fruits and vegetables. So no like wheat or things like that, like people like bread or rice or noodles or what have you.
Well, again, it's I suppose that's where you have to get kind of careful with the wording because they have so many different kinds of foods nowadays.
Yeah, I know that there are breads made from different things, but I don't know if that, like, if, for example, if somebody gets a loaf of bread, does that count as a processed carb, for example?
I'll put it to you this way. If I'm going to eat bread, I eat bread.
Mm-hmm.
I just eat bread. If I'm going to have garlic bread, I'm going to have garlic bread. If I'm going to have a sandwich, I like white bread. I'm having white bread.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with white bread. If you look at the actual glucose index, do you know what the glucose index is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my wife is, she's glucose. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm thinking about something else. Yes, I am aware of it. I was thinking about gluten, but that's different. Go ahead, though.
Well, she's gluten intolerant?
Yeah, she's gluten intolerant, yeah.
Okay. Well, it's a similar thing. But anyways, she needs to know the amount in foods as well. But regardless, if you look at it, it's actually right there with potatoes and white rice.
Mm-hmm.
And just real quick, white rice is actually better than brown rice. I don't know why people think brown rice is better.
Yeah.
Brown rice is not, and I don't mean flavor. I mean healthy.
No, you mean healthier, right? No, we know that. It's like wheat bread. People say wheat bread is better too, right? That's like a thing they sell on people. Yeah.
If you guys are curious, anybody watches, go to my Mythbusters on my channel. We literally just mythbust this stuff left and right. I don't know where this stuff comes. I don't even know where it comes from half the time. But either way, it's not true.
No. I think it's all about selling the bread. But like, what about seed oils? This is another thing that we hear about.
That's what we're gonna get.
Okay.
Right now, actually.
Yeah, let's get into the seed oils. I want to hear, but yeah, the fats and seed oils. Go ahead.
Well, actually, seed oil. Yeah, let's actually use that. It's a great example. So when I talk about fats, this is real simple for you guys to wrap your heads around. Healthy fats. You know what? You're old enough. You remember McDonald's back in the day when you were a kid? The French fries?
Yep. They were made in tallow back then. They don't do that anymore, but they were delicious. That was what they were.
In your shake straw?
Yeah. I vaguely remember. I didn't go to the McDonald's very much when I was a kid. My family was pretty poor, but I mean, occasionally we go as a treat, like somebody's birthday or something. That's how rare it was. But yes, the French fries were good.
Same thing, but I always remember the fries and the shakes and a couple other things when I was a kid. But anyways, I remember they tasted completely different.
Mm-hmm.
And I never knew why until a couple years ago. And that's when I found out that McDonald's switched from tallow to fryer oil.
Canola oil. Yeah, vegetable oil.
Whatever word you want to use.
Yeah.
Now here's the thing about it, and this, I'm not going to get into why it happened. I have videos as to why this actually happened, but long story short, let's just think about fat like this. Good fat is if you hold up a piece of meat, all that white cobwebby stuff inside of it, that's fat. That's good fat. You want to eat that. You got a prime rib, you got a pork belly taco, you got bacon, you got butter. These are fats. Yeah, eat those up. Those fats are going to give you testosterone. They're going to keep your hormones healthy and happy. They're going to keep your brain, your arteries happy, healthy. These are good fats. These fats, you cannot eat too much of these fats either. Now, that's if you're keto. So if you were to only eat protein and fats for the rest of your life, you basically could not overeat. You wouldn't get fat, essentially. And that's because you're not storing anything. It's all just going to get processed or pooped out.
Yeah.
Frankly, that's what happens. But anyway,
Yeah.
so healthy fats are also, as we've said, unprocessed. Avocado, cashews, peanuts, almonds. These are all very healthy fats. Olive oil. And now let's talk about basically what is everything else. Unhealthy fats. What we just mentioned, McDonald's. Anytime something is deep fried, unless it's at my house where I got duck fat or bacon fat, it is done in canola oil. By the way, try duck fat and bacon fat frying if you haven't already. I highly recommend it, of course.
We have a jar of duck fat we use, and we save because my wife works. She's a meat cutter, so we get meat all the time, and so we save up the fat from steaks and ground beef, and yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Oh,
yeah.
I love it. I love it.
We're talking about
so
the canola oil, corn oil,
sorry.
yeah.
All right, so let's talk about, you said seed oil, so let's talk about rapeseed oil. Now, they changed the name to grapeseed, but it's from the rape flower. Rape doesn't sound very fun, so they changed it to grape. Now, here's the interesting thing about when we switched over to McDonald's. Here's what happened. They had billions and billions and billions of barrels of grapeseed oil rather, lying around. This grapeseed oil came from all of the winemaking and all of everything that had been going on at the time. I can't remember exactly. It was a bunch of crap. And so they literally had all of this oil. And what were they using all of this oil for? The billions of barrels? Engine lubricant, military lubricant, gun lubricant. Okay. But then they had too much of it and they couldn't keep storing it because there was just so much. So they said, hey, food industry, can you do something with this? So they took bleach, regular bleach, and they bleached the oil, and then they deodorized the oil. Now you have every version of canola oil, anything that is mixed in a salad dressing, anything that is in a deep fryer. You're basically eating things cooked in engine lubricant and bleach, just to be clear. And so this is what is actually going in your body on top of I'm not going to talk about this, but it also reacts with plastics as well. And getting plastics in our diet is really, I don't want to get down a train here, but I mean, we don't want to get plastics in our diet either.
Yeah, I was going to mention that later, but go ahead.
Well, maybe we'll get into it later. But anyways, so long story short, so now you guys know, and I know I'm going to sound kind of like a dick when I say this, because I was a chef for so long, cooking. I don't remember a time when I couldn't cook, if you will. But cooking is really easy. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. You guys, you don't need to be like a cook to eat this stuff. I mean, I'm such a simple guy. I go steak, salt, pepper. I sear it in butter, and I cut it up with mashed potatoes. I mean, that's a great dinner for me. I'm a simple guy. I'll make you guys get the idea. I don't eat anything complicated. I'm super simple with my foods. It makes me happy eating the same, whatever, 30 or 40 kind of things, just prepared in a variety of ways. Most people are the same way, but you don't have to be a cook to do anything. If you want to have, you guys want to have a salad and you don't want to eat the salad dressing because of what I just said, you get a bowl, you get olive oil, salt, pepper, vinegar, and you whisk it together. You want to get creative, throw some mustard in there. I mean, you guys can make a million different things. It's not a cooking class, but it's not hard. You just have to do stuff in the kitchen. I know a lot of people kind of wary of it, but just think about where you're spending your money. One of the biggest things I try to get my clients to stop doing is eating out so much. There's nothing wrong with eating out, but think about the cost of eating out compared to just eating a nice steak at home. Think about the time, travel, effort, all that other stuff when you could just be home. You know, I got clients go out to eat two meals a day. That's crazy to me. Why would you do that? But again, So we don't want to eat seed oils. Don't do it. Now, these seed oils, I should also point out, they're in everything. I mean, pick something in the store that is processed. It's got this seed oil in it. And on top of that, I don't want to go off on a tangent down here, but it just came to me when I was saying this, is just about anything that's processed is intentionally laced with sugar. So everything from your spicy Dorito chips to anything in the grocery store that's like in the middle section in cans, bags, and everything else, that has sugar in it. And that is by design. Because it makes you addicted to it and it makes you keep going back to eat more of it. People think they keep eating Pringles and Doritos because of the salty. It's not. It's because of the sugar. It has nothing to do with the salty.
Yeah.
I just want to get that out there when I was thinking of it. Sorry.
No, I think that's right. I mean, we don't do any of that. Like before, like years ago, I was, I didn't know any better. But like these days, yeah, I mean, you're basically like on point for the most part of what we're doing, my wife and I. So we talked about the seed oils. I wanted to about as far as fat goes. What about milk? Is that okay? Like raw milk? Like if you can get raw milk. Yeah, go ahead. Were you gonna say about that?
No, I haven't had raw milk since I was a kid in upstate New York, actually.
Yeah. If you
I
can't
don't
get that,
actually,
is like the A2 milk okay, or you can just
no,
get regular milk?
I actually don't really have an opinion on it, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I drink Fairlife milk. That's just, I like it. That's my
Yeah.
choice. I don't care. I could drink just about anything. If I'm going to drink milk, though, it's going to be whole milk. It's
Mm-hmm.
not going to be milk that's lying about being milk. It's going to be whole milk. Or it's
Mm-hmm.
going to be like Fairlife, which is a whole milk that's actually been modified to have twice the protein and half the carbs, half the sugar, which
Oh.
is why I like that one.
Yeah, yeah.
But again, I don't really have an opinion on milk. You need the dairy, you need the calcium. It's a
Yeah.
great way to get a good amount of protein as well. I have no issues with it
So
whatsoever.
cheese is okay too?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same
Cheese?
thing.
Yeah,
Right?
it's the same thing.
I eat
Okay.
it. I mean, probably this past couple of weeks, I've actually eaten about a pound of cheese a day, probably.
Yeah.
I love me some cheese. Yeah.
Yeah, cheese is great. So, okay, so I want to talk about the plastics because this is the thing that I'm noticing. This has been going on since before either of us were born. That the food has changed, it's becoming more processed, probably, right? And especially in what is available to the average person going to the grocery store to pick up food, right? To eat at home. Especially if they're getting things like, pre-packaged dinners, frozen TV dinners, popcorn, whatever it is, snacks. All of this stuff has been, I think most of it has been processed, and like you said, most of it also has sugar in it of some kind to get us addicted. And what I've seen, and maybe you don't agree, I think you will, but testosterone levels are lower in men and women, and it is getting to the point where sperm counts are low, reproduction rates are low, and our population is not growing to a degree that it can sustain not just like the welfare state, which I could do without, but even like infrastructure itself, right? So we're not having enough kids to keep this going, and it's not just the United States. This is everywhere. This is all over the world.
Well,
I think
China's probably the worst.
yeah, no, the worst. Well, we don't even know the data on China, but it's probably pretty bad. The worst that I know of is South Korea and Japan.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and even the best parts, which is like sub-Saharan Africa, has like the highest rates, but even those are lower than they're supposed to be. So this is like inevitable. So the problem seems to be that there is all of these estrogenic things in the water, in the plastic bottles and containers, and other things. So first of all, I wanted to know if you're aware of the scope of this problem, and also what are essentially like things that men can do, because I think men everywhere are looking to like raise their T levels essentially.
Well, I would say maybe a couple things about it and a couple things off topic about it too. Definitely,
Mm-hmm.
this is a slightly outside of my wheelhouse, but not too
Mm-hmm.
much. These are things I deal with, but I don't take like in this particular case, I'm going out in the limb here. This is outside of my expertise slightly. Um, what I will say is it's multifaceted, and we've actually already touched on a couple things. Number one, people literally are not eating healthy fat anymore. It's not
Yes.
being consumed. It's just not. And if you're not consuming healthy fat, you cannot make these hormones. So that's number one. Another facet of this that you just talked about, we'll get to that more in a second, is the plastics. Now, I don't know, again, I'll just go on a limb here. I don't know that much about it, so I want to be cautious with what I say
Sure.
about
Sure.
this. But in regards just to the plastic, it's definitely, excuse me, being consumed far too much.
Mm-hmm.
And I would even go to say it's extremely hard to not consume it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say at the moment, maybe worry about plastic less. And the next couple things I'm going to mention more, because these are things you can have direct control over.
Yeah.
So another one of the things I talk about all the damn time is sleep. Now, I'll just give you a brief once over, because this is a bit important to understand this, but we live our lives in something called ultradian rhythms. Now, these ultradian rhythms happen to all of us throughout the day, every 90 minutes or something or other that we go through them. And when you're sleeping, these are called, so your circadian rhythm, and it's called REM sleep. So when you go to bed and you start sleeping, you'll hopefully go through 4 stages of REM sleep, unimaginably called stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and stage 4 REM sleep. If you make it through all 4 of these stages, you'll then briefly, for like a moment, wake up and pee or roll over in bed or something, but you'll have completed your full REM cycle of 90 minutes. If you do that, you've successfully completed 1 sleep block. Most people require 5 to 6 sleep blocks to be healthy. Now, I'll get more into that in just 1 second, but basically, if you're not adequately getting sleep, meaning timing your sleep so that you're actually sleeping 90 minutes, 90 minutes, 90 minutes, 90 minutes, 90 minutes, you're not actually sleeping correctly. If you're not sleeping correctly, even for 1 single night, if you miss 1 block, just 1 sleep block, 1 night, your testosterone will drop by up to 43% and remain low for the next 2 days. So you probably already see where I'm going this. What do you think happens when we live in a civilization? By the way, I don't do caffeine but once a day. When I first wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, 90 minutes after I wake up, I have a 200 milligram caffeine pill, and that is all the caffeine I have for the entire day. I try to avoid chocolate, not because I don't like chocolate, it's bad for you, but just because it has caffeine in it, actually. But anyways, most people don't know that caffeine has a half-life of 8 hours. But basically, if you eat caffeine at all, even like 10, 12 hours close to bed, you're probably going to have difficulty sleeping. Now, I know there's people out there, oh no, that's not me. No, you too. Okay, you have the same biology as I do and everybody else does, or else hospital medicine would not work. So yeah, you're the same, you just don't notice it's screwing up your sleep. It's the same people who say, I need a drink of beer to go to bed. That drink of beer might make you fall asleep for a second, but then it has completely destroyed your sleep rhythm the entire night. So no, it didn't help you go to sleep, guys. That's destroying your sleep. So anyways, if you have all this caffeine and all this stimulus, and if you're looking at screens and stuff all before bed and you're amped up and stuff, you're not going to sleep. And if you're not budgeting to have 7.5 to 9 hours of sleep every night, it's not actually budgeted, you're not going to get the correct amount of sleep. And if you don't get the correct amount of sleep, your testosterone goes down. By the way, your ghrelin, that's your hunger hormone. If you don't sleep adequately, your ghrelin levels go up dramatically, which makes you considerably hungrier the next day for things like carbs. Because your body says, we didn't sleep, we need food, more ghrelin, give us food. That's why if you want to lose fat, one of the best things I tell you is to sleep more. It's going to keep your ghrelin levels low. And it's going to keep your testosterone levels high, provided you're eating fat and protein. But again, so just put it to you this way. You're in a caffeinated society where people really don't care about sleep anymore. They have FOMO constantly. They can't put their phones down. They don't prioritize their alone time. They don't prioritize decompression. They don't prioritize sleep. Most people I know get really crappy sleep. Even my clients, no matter how much I stress it, they sleep maybe 4 or 5 hours and badly at that, not adequately. Hormones, ghrelin is up, testosterone, estrogen, everything's down. It's all bad. Now keep doing that for a prolonged period of time. It's no wonder you're destroyed. It's not a surprise your body's screwed over. It's not a surprise you're not making testosterone. So, I mean, there's actually, I can think of at least 5 or 6 other things which impact your testosterone. But at the moment, the key things really is sleep adequately, consume adequate protein, because you can control those things. Consume adequate amounts of healthy fats, again, because you can control these things. If you're doing those 3 things, that'll affect your testosterone in a very positive way. Add to that things like, I mean, I don't want to be a dick here, but just basic exercise every day for 10 or 15 minutes, it's going to further increase your testosterone. Now, here's something else to consider, and a lot of people are going to hate me for saying this, but most people in the world are at the bottom of the hierarchy. You're the lowest of the low. It doesn't even matter who you are or what social circle you're in. You're the bottom of the hierarchy. I mean, even me, I'm definitely at the bottom of my hierarchy. I mean, nobody likes me, everybody hates me. It's fine, I don't care. But being at the bottom of a hierarchy like that, it comes with a lot of problems, like depression, like being upset, being emotional. By the way, there's no reason you shouldn't be. You are at the bottom of the hierarchy. You should feel like that. But that's also going to keep your testosterone low. having a couple wins, winning, that boosts your testosterone. That's why as humans, it's critical that we're constantly making and seeing progress, because those little wins do things like boost our hormones, boost our endorphins, keep us going on that path. It's when you stop doing things that everything starts dipping, and then it becomes a vicious cycle. Does all that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So what are some, so we talked about the food stuff, and you mentioned the sleep, but I guess I want to ask you about that, but I don't want you to give up, like what you're, offering. But what
My
are...
information's free.
Oh, okay. So what...
Anything I coach people, well, not anything.
Yeah,
Just
you
about
can
anything
get...
I coach people on is on my YouTube
Well,
channel or in any of my books. I give it
okay.
away for free. Ask me anything you want.
All right. So first of all, let me say to the audience, if you guys have any questions for us or Coach Castle, you can send us a super chow by going over to feedthebadger.com/just-the-tip. Put in a little bit of money and then, ask your question, make your statement. Yeah. And, send us a tip that way. Or you can send a super chat, or you can send a Rumble rant. What's up? Shout out to the Rumble gang. Thank you for supporting us over on Rumble. We're hoping that will become a bigger platform because YouTube does not like us very much for some reason. But, okay, so with that said, I think that there is a problem with people getting good sleep. I was in the hospital. I got very, very sick. Came close to death in, I want to say it was January. And when I got back, I was under so much stress. I think it was stress, right? That I had insomnia for about 2 months, and now I'm starting to get, better sleep. I don't need like aids. I used to take Benadryl, or I would take NyQuil, which is basically that, and that would put me to sleep. But now, like just last night, I did it without that. But what are some, I guess, because you also mentioned something else, and this is probably related. You said before we started that people don't breathe correctly, and so I'm assuming that there's a relationship between that and getting all of your sleep. So what are some tips you can give in case there are people that are watching that are also having trouble sleeping?
All right, so I'll give you a comprehensive list. Ask me to elaborate at any of the points, but this will be just a big list of stuff that you guys can do. So, number 1, 2 hours before bed. Shut off your phone, shut off your computer, shut off your TVs. You don't need any of that stuff. At this point in time, for myself and my clients and other, let's just call them high-performing people, this is when everything goes off. Now your brain can focus selfishly on, for me anyways, let me clean the house, let me organize the next day, let me set out my food for the next day, let me do my stretching. And while I'm doing all of this, I love to listen to things like podcasts, documentaries. Shout out to Mr. Ballin. I love listening to Mr. Ballin.
Oh, my wife watches him all the time.
I love him.
Yeah, she was. yeah, he tells the stories. You should check out Mr. Ballin. But go ahead.
Yeah, just 2 hours before bed. I'm just having a good time listening to comedy clubs, drive-bar comedy, just all, it's a good time. I don't have any interest in looking at my phone. I know I have dozens of emails and text messages. I know that. I don't care. It can wait. Somebody might have died. Okay, I'll find out in the morning. I'm not worried about it. Now, if you do this, that immediately is going to be a big help. Number 2, if you can, take a hot shower or a hot bath maybe half an hour before bed. The reason for this is by basically taking that hot bath, it's going to heat up your core body temperature. And then when you get out, what's going to happen is the heat is going to try to get flushed out of you into your limbs, and it's going to cool down your core, which is what your body needs to go to sleep. Have yourself in a nice cold room. I keep my AC at 60 because I like cold. But you have yourself a cold room. Have yourself a warm blanket. Wear socks if that helps. I know that helps a lot of people. Now, well, before I get to the breathing, let me keep going, I guess.
Okay.
Other things you can do. Supplements. Benadryl is actually a good one. It's non-habit forming, but I would also say try to avoid taking it every night. I mean, some nights, maybe you're going to need it. Maybe take it those nights. Nothing wrong with it. Non-habit forming, I got no problem with it. Something called St. John's wort is a supplement. It's an all-natural plant. Basically, you just take it. If you've had too much caffeine or you're overstimulated, this is just going to help bring you down a little bit.
St. John's wort. Okay.
Yep. One of my personal favorites is melatonin 5 milligram time release. Now, I would say, though, that the only point in even taking melatonin is if you take the time released version. Because if you don't, it's just going to be digested within 3 hours. It's not going to last you throughout the whole night. So just take a 5 milligram time release version. It works great. You're only going to need to do that, though, if you're not spending time in the sun. If you're spending time in the sun, you don't need to do that. Don't waste your money doing that. There's no need to. Zinc and magnesium should be taken every single night. I recommend ZMA. It's just a blend of the two. But anyways, if you take zinc and magnesium before bed, it's going to help you sleep a lot. What did I miss here? So, I mean, that's most of it. Now, I would add 2 narcotics to the list. Weed. Now, I would use weed only if you're comfortable with the idea of using weed, and you should understand that when you do smoke weed, if you're doing it every single day, it's not going to work.
Right.
If you're having trouble sleeping and you want to take a puff every once in a while, that'll help put you to sleep. If you do it every day, what's going to happen is you're going to build up of THC in your system, and it's actually going to prevent you from going to deep sleep. You'll never attain that deep sleep, so you don't want to be doing that. And then the second one I would recommend, I'm sure, well, maybe some of you have heard of it, is kava. Now, kava is an extract.
Oh, yeah. I think we have some, actually.
Yeah, I'm in Florida at the moment, and there's a lot of kava bars around here. It's just a bar, and you go there and you get kava coffee, kava soda, flavored kava of all different kinds. And it actually has a reverse tolerance. Like weed, you build a tolerance to it. You need more weed to get the same effect. With kava, the more kava you drink, the less kava you need. It's pretty cool, actually. And it's a great way to really kind of relax your central nervous system and shut you down for the night. All right, so now let's talk about breathing. Now, I'll just give you a once-over on breathing, just very briefly, so you kind of follow me here. When I say most people don't breathe correctly, I'm referring to the fact that around the age of about 5 years old, for give or take the past 50 years, we have culturally indoctrinated all children, men and women, to breathe as an upper chest breather, or what's called a vertical breather. So when you see them breathe, well, you don't see me doing it, but you'll see them go like this. So this is how most people breathe. They don't even realize it. The issue is that when you breathe like that, you're not actually using your diaphragm. Now, I'm not going to get all complicated with this, but long story short, what you want to do is forever, till the day you die, only breathe with your nose. Never breathe with your mouth. Only breathe with your nose. You should always breathe into your stomach. Now, for those of you who are wondering what I'm talking about, a very easy way to explain this would be to have you lay on the floor as if you're going to do an abdominal crunch with your legs bent at 90 degrees. Make sure your lower back is touching the ground, and then put some form of a weight on your belly button. A 5-pound dumbbell, a water bottle, a cat, I don't know, something. And then literally try to breathe into your nose and make your belly, technically your diaphragm going down, but your belly raise. The way it's going to be raising is because you'll finally be inflating your lungs fully. When you fully inflate your lungs, your diaphragm goes all the way down and you're breathing considerably better. Now, how long should you do this? You should be inhaling for 5 to 6 seconds, and you should be exhaling for 5 to 6 seconds. When you exhale, it can be nose or mouth, but when you inhale, it should only be nose. I don't want to get into it, but it mixes it with nitrogen oxygen. It filters it. It does a lot of stuff. You always want to breathe with your nose. You always want to breathe into your belly. And most people, they breathe using only about a third of their lung. It causes them to have all these posture problems. It causes their face and their jaw to become misaligned. It causes all kinds of shit. With women in particular, their diaphragm and pelvic floor, well, everybody, but women in particular, their diaphragm and pelvic floor, they really need to take care of them because they work in concert together. With men, if you're any kind of a power lifter or a bodybuilder or something like that, you know what I say, brace your core. What you would do is you would take a complete full inhale into your belly, and then you'd make yourself rigid like I was going to Spartan kick you in the belly. Now, that's bracing your core, but you would naturally do a complete and full inhale to brace your core. But that's generally speaking the only time somebody would do a full inhale. And what you want to do is always have a complete full inhale and then a complete full exhale. Now, how this translates to actually sleeping, as you alluded to, is very simple. In a nutshell, if you're not breathing correctly, you're not sleeping. It's that simple. I hope that you liked that video. I just wanted to remind you all, if you're able to and you support my work, please make sure that you like the video, you subscribe if you haven't already, you click the notification bell, and you share this video or leave a comment to help the algorithm. Every little bit helps, and I'm trying to get this information to as many people as is possible. And of course, if I can help you with any of your coaching needs, you need a running plan, you need a workout plan, you want to build mass, you want to lose weight, you want to do things correctly, you want a full education about your diet, your exercise, your respiratory health, supplements, and everything else,
just contact me at castleinprogress.com or via my email, castleinprogress@gmail.com. If you don't want coaching directly, just check out my Etsy store. It's linked in the description of all of my videos. I have all of my many books, tools, and everything else there. Or finally, check out my Substack. It's linked in a lot of the videos as well. And it's free, a free newsletter where I share the latest science, advice, exercises, and everything else for free. So thank you as always for your support, everyone.